How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got trapped at Yokai Gakuen? Part 1. Huge shout out to Lazy Hermit for this story. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Our favorite blonde-hair blue-eyed knuckle-headed ninja had just finished his 24th bowl of ramen and was getting ready to start his next bowl when he heard someone scream. He asked the chef and his daughter at the ramen shop, "Hey, did you guys hear a scream?" Tucci and AM looked at Naruto funny and just said no. Naruto decided it was nothing and went back to eating his ramen. After Naruto finished his 30th bowl of ramen and paid the bill, he said thanks for the ramen. Then left with his usual huge grin on his face. As Naruto started to walk back to his house to get his gear to start training, since he was officially a ninja thanks to Iruka-sensei, he heard the scream again. He looked around and notices that no one else had heard it. Since no one heard it, he decided to investigate himself to see what it was. Walking around the outskirts of town, he heard a crash and saw a few of the trees around the mountain that the Hokages were carved in had started to fall. Naruto hid behind one of the trees that had already fallen. He looked up to see something that completely shocked him. There were craters everywhere and tons of trees had been knocked over, but what truly shocked him were the two girls in one of the craters. The smallest one had orange hair tied up in two pigtails with emerald green eyes. She had cuts and bruises all over her and was leaning on one knee. Naruto figured she was probably a few years younger than him. Then he turned his attention to the other one. She had long silver hair with red eyes that had black slits in each. Naruto couldn't stop staring at her. He thought she looked absolutely beautiful in his eyes. Before he knew it, he was walking toward them just to get a better look. "One-sama, one more round please," begged Kokoa. "No Kokoa, you already can verily stand, take a break for a while, then you can try to attack me again," said Mocha, glaring at her sister. Kokoa started to get up, ignoring what her sister said, and ran to hit her in the head. Mocha, getting angrier that her sister had just ignored her, kicked Kokoa in the stomach, sending Kokoa crashing against a tree with a loud crack and thud when she hit the ground. Kokoa, verily conscious, leaned against the tree holding her stomach and was scared at what her sister was going to do next since she disobeyed her. Mocha started to walk toward Kokoa when all of a sudden there was a thud and Lodo right behind them. Startled by the sound, she quickly turns around in a stance to attack. What she saw was a blonde-haired boy with 3 whisker marks on each cheek with sky blue eyes. He had a huge grin on his face and was staring at her, causing her to blush a little and look away. She quickly shook it off and got back into her fighting stance. Kokoa ran up behind her sister and yelled at the blonde, "What the hell do you want?" mad that someone had stopped her and One-sama from their fighting session. Naruto put his hands behind his head and started to walk toward them, but a little pissed at what the redhead had said. He just ignored her and said, "Hi, the name's Naruto Uzumaki, the future Hokage. What's yours?" with his huge grin on his face. Mocha looked at him for a second, staring at him with a weary look, wondering if she should tell him. "The name's Mocha Akashiya, this is my little sister Kokoa Shuzan," still in her fighting stance. "Mocha-chan, that's a really cute name," said Naruto, causing the girl to blush a little again. Kokoa was mad at how this Naruto had just said her One-sama's name so costly without getting kicked in the face. Naruto noticed Kokoa getting mad, so decided to say, "What's wrong, Chibi-chan?" This made Kokoa even madder, causing smoke to come out of her ears. She ran at him, trying to knock that smile off his face. She smirked when she heard a nice crunch sound between her fist and Naruto's cheek. Both of the girls were shocked when Naruto went up in poof of smoke and was replaced by a log. They started to look around when they heard Naruto say, "That's not very nice, Chibi-chan." The girls turned around to see Naruto behind them without a scratch. This intrigued Mocha, so she asked, "Would you fight me?" Kokoa stared at her in shock. There was no way this Naruto could stand a chance against her One-sama. Naruto's grin got even bigger than before. He never had anyone to spare with, except for his clones. "Sure, but if I win you have to be my friend." Mocha smirked at that, then she said, "Sure, but that's only if you can beat me, but if I win you have to teach me how you just did that thing when Kokoa punched you." She already knew she was going to win. There's no way this boy could beat her. They both got into their fighting stance and waited for Kokoa to tell them the battle had started. As soon as Kokoa said start, Mocha ran at Naruto. Naruto started doing his hand signs, then said Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In a poof of smoke 4 other Narutos appeared, shocking Mocha and Kokoa even more. The 4 clones started to circle around Mocha, all with a kunai in hand. Mocha did a roundhouse kick, hitting 2 of the clones, making them disappear in a poof of smoke. She smirked at this, thinking this was going to be easy. Naruto jumped up in the air over Mocha's head and threw 6 shuriken at her. She dodged the first 4 with ease, but was hit in the back by the other 2. As soon as Naruto landed, he was hit with a kick to the stomach, sending him flying into a tree. Mocha thought she had finally hit him, but frowned when he was replaced with another log. Kokoa was shocked when Naruto had beaten her One-sama with one last punch to the face. Even more so that he was only just starting to break out in a sweat after they had been fighting for 2 hours straight. Mocha was furious that the boy had actually beaten her. It was impossible in her mind. "What are you?" she asked. Naruto looked at her questionably and said, "Human, of course, what else could I be?" Mocha gave him the death glare, thinking there was no way possible for a mere human to beat her. He was a little scared at the look she was giving him, so he started to chuckle and held out his hand to help her up. When all of a sudden there was some blood that started to go down his arm. Mocha smelt the blood and was immediately intoxicated by the scent. She grabbed his arm and pulled it towards her. Pulling up his sleeve, she saw the line of blood going down his arm. She couldn't hold it any longer and licked the blood off of his arm. Naruto's face turned completely red like a tomato. Then he noticed that Mocha had pair of fangs. He froze right then when he heard a chomp and looked down to see that Mocha had bit him on the neck, sucking his blood. Mocha noticed that Naruto had gone limp in her arms. She stopped sucking his blood and looked up to see that Naruto had fainted. She picked him up and walked to Kokoa, who had saw the whole thing and was shocked at the events that had gone on between her One-sama and Naruto. Naruto started to wake up, still tired from just getting up. He had forgotten everything that had just happened. He looked up and noticed that he was sitting under a tree. "Where am I? How did I get here? What was I doing before I fell asleep?" he wondered. All of a sudden there was a loud gasp, and in One-chan Naruto is awake. He looked up again to see an orange-haired girl and a silver-haired girl running toward him. Then he remembered everything, which made him stand straight up as fast as he could in shock. Naruto pointed at Mocha and said, "Why you just sucked my blood," stuttering uncontrollably. Mocha frowned and looked down to her feet and said, "I'm sorry, it's just I'm a vampire and your blood just smelled so good I couldn't resist. Just to let you know, it was the greatest blood I have ever tasted and you're also the first human I've sucked blood from. If that makes it any better." "That is freaking awesome," Naruto yelled. Both Mocha and Coco looked at him in surprise at what he had just said. "So you two are like those super strong, super hot vampires that suck blood that you read about in fairy tales?" As he remembered the few scrolls he had stolen about them. "No wonder I thought you were so cute when I first saw you. That explains everything. I'm so glad that you two are my first friends." "Wait, you're not scared of us and all?" Mocha and Coco asked at the same time. "Nope, why should I be when I already beat you in combat just a little while ago?" Mocha blushed at that completely, since she had forgotten that Naruto had beaten her. Coco ran up to Naruto and said, "Yay," hugging him at the time. "I'm so glad Naruto isn't sacred of us." "It's okay, Chibi-chan, there is no way I could ever be scared of cute girls like you," he said with a chuckle. Coco pouted at Naruto for still calling her Chibi-chan, which Naruto laughed at. The sun was setting as the three were still talking under the tree when Mocha remembered that she and Coco needed to leave before Papa got worried and came looking for them. She got up and said, "Coco, we need to leave now before Papa comes looking for us." Coco frowned but said ook, since she knew what Papa would do if he saw where they were and was talking to a human at that. She said goodbye to Naruto and "I hope we get to see each other soon." Then walked away and just disappeared into some type of portal. This shocked Naruto. He ran up to where Coco had disappeared. Only there was nothing there, which made Naruto mad since he couldn't follow them like he was planning to. So he could surprise them tomorrow by him knocking on their door. Mocha laughed at how Naruto was trying to jump through air where Coco had just left. She walked up to him and said only vampires can go through there. Which made Naruto even sadder. Since it meant only Mocha and Coco could come see him, but he couldn't go see them. She noticed a frown on his face and sighed. "Naruto, me and my sister will be here tomorrow if you want to see us." The blonde ninjas completely lit up with the biggest smile anyone has ever seen when she said that. This caused Mocha to blush again at how cute he looked with those whisker marks on his cheeks. She walked toward portal and heard Naruto say, "See you tomorrow, Mocha-chan." Causing Mocha's blush to be even more noticeable. She ran through the portal hoping Naruto didn't see her blush. Naruto also went back to his house. Only one thing was going through his brain when we went to his bed to sleep. Mocha-chan is so cute. When Mocha had gotten through to the other side of the portal, she noticed Coco was as white as a ghost. She looked to see their Papa was right in front of them in a very bad mood. She froze knowing what Papa might do. "Hello father, I'm sorry for being late. Me and Coco got a little sidetracked while we were fighting," Mocha said, stuttering. This did not make his mood any better. He said, "Very well, but the next time you are late you shall be grounded for a month if not more for making me worried about you too." She sighed, glad that her father had not smelt Naruto's scent on her. He turned back around and asked, "By the way, what is that horrible stench on you? It smells as if human was with you." Coco looked at her sister in horror, knowing what Papa would do to Naruto if he found out. Especially if her Papa had found out that Naruto had beaten her One-sama in combat. Mocha and Coco both stayed quiet, trying to think of an excuse. After a few minutes he said, "Never mind, she'll let it slide this time. Go take a shower both and get that horrible stench off of you." They both ran for the bathroom, knowing if they stayed there Papa would probably bring the subject back up. After they were finished, Kokoa asked, "Can I sleep with you tonight, Wani-sama?" Mocha sighed and knew even if she said no, Kokoa would still come to her room anyway. So she said fine, but only for tonight. Kokoa jumped for joy and hugged her Wani-sama, then ran dragging Mocha with her to the room. They quickly got into bed. Kokoa asked, "So Wani-sama, do you like Naruto-sama?" This caused Mocha to punch Kokoa in the face, sending her flying into the wall with a huge crash. She said good night Kokoa. Then went to sleep. Kokoa grinned and staggered back to the bed, knowing that Wani-sama liked Naruto-sama. Naruto woke with a huge grin on his face, knowing he would get to see Mocha-chan again today. He quickly got ready and ran out the door, but forgot to put his hit-eye on and quickly ran back in to put it on. "Phew, don't want to forget this," he thought. Then ran back out the door to go eat his most favorite food in the world, ramen. He took his seat down at Ichiraku's and said, "One order of miso ramen and make it fast, I'm in hurry today." Gucci gave a questioning look toward Naruto. "Oh, and what's the rush? You normally have about 10 bowls before you leave." "Not today, old man, I got to hurry so I can meet up with my friends." Naruto grinned and took the bowl of ramen from Tucci and slurped it down 10 seconds flat, paid the bill and ran back out. This stunned the chef. Never had he ever heard Naruto say anything about having friends. "Glad to see you finally made some friends, Naruto." He smiled as he watched Naruto go. Naruto sat under the tree that he and Mocha-chan had sat under yesterday, daydreaming about what they would do today. Before he knew, he had fallen asleep. Mocha and Kokoa walked out of the portal and saw Naruto asleep under the tree. "Hey Wani-sama, why don't we pull a prank on Naruto-sama for falling asleep?" Kokoa asked. "Oh yes Kokoa, that is the best idea you have had yet," Mocha replied. They both had an evil grin on their faces as they walked toward Naruto. Little did they know they were being spied on by a few of the kids in the area. One of the kids ran back to town to tell the adults that the demon child had made friends with other demon children. When the child got there, he yelled to the people nearby, "Help, the demon child has made friends with 2 other demons and are holding my friends as hostages." This caused the whole town to grab whatever weapon was near them and make a huge mob near the gate closest to where Naruto was. One of the men in the mob yelled, "I knew we should have killed the demon child when we had the chance." Another yelled, "I told you this would happen if we let him live." The mob started running to where Naruto was. Naruto awoke from hearing someone laughing. Then he felt weird for some reason. He felt like he was upside down. He realized that he was upside down, tied by his feet to the tree. Looking down, he saw Mocha and Kokoa beneath him laughing like crazy. The Diddity was mad. "Hey, what's the big idea tying me to the tree upside down?" he yelled. The girls both jumped when they found out he had woken up. Kokoa started laughing again when she saw how red Naruto's was. Mocha just smirked, then said, "It's what you get for sleeping when we get here. I'm going to get you too so bad when I get out of this you won't know what hit you," Naruto said as he wiggled out of the ropes, falling head first to the ground with a thud. "Oh, that freaking hurt." The girls burst out into laughter again. All of a sudden there was RAWRR in the air and the sound of lots of people coming toward them. Then they heard, "Kill the demon child, he has gone too far this time." Naruto stood in fear as he knew who they were talking about and what was coming for them. He shouted, "Mocha-chan, Chibi-chan, get out of here, do not turn around and go home now." They stare at Naruto only to see that in his eyes he was scared yet maybe sad at the same time. "I see the demon child, he's right there, get him." They ran even faster now that they saw Naruto not too far in the distance. This scared Mocha and Kokoa. They didn't know why this mob was running after them. "Naruto, why are they calling you a demon child and why is there a huge mob coming after us?" asked Mocha, giving Naruto a very worried look. "Don't worry Mocha-chan, just take Chibi-chan and run home as fast as you can and don't look back," he said, looking at her with the saddest, loneliest eyes she had ever seen. Mocha just nodded and grabbed Kokoa's arm and ran for the portal. She pushed Kokoa through the portal and looked back to see Naruto staring at her with kunai stuck out all over his body and a huge hole in the side of his stomach. Naruto saw that Mocha had looked back and gave her the biggest grin he could. Then said, "I told you not to look back," as he fell to the ground with a thud. Mocha watched in horror as Naruto fell to the ground in front of her, but right before he hit the ground she could have sworn Naruto said, "It was fun playing with you Mocha-chan. I really like you." Then her sister grabbed her arm and dragged her through the portal. A few days later Mocha tried to go back through the portal to see if Naruto was alive, but the portal was blocked so she could not find out if he had died, which she refused to believe, or if he had somehow survived. The crowd cheered, "You're a hero, and we believed in you," as a certain blonde-haired blue-eyed ninja walked out of the woods and towards the townspeople. Naruto couldn't believe what he saw. The villagers actually recognized him as a hero and not a demon. He almost couldn't hold back the tears that were welling up in his eyes. "That damn demon brat, now it's going to be even harder to get rid of him or even control him," an old man said. "Wait Danzu-sama, why don't you send him there?" a masked figure said. The old man grew an evil grin on his face. That is a very good idea, I should have thought of that sooner. He pulled a black orb that had white lighting on the inside moving around like a storm and walked out of his chamber. Now I won't have any problem getting rid of him. Danzu thought. Sakura ran up to Naruto and hugged him as hard as she could. Thank you Naruto, if not for you everyone would have died. Naruto smiled sheepishly from having Sakura hug him. She pulled away and walked to where Tsunade laid in a coma. The crowd ran over to Naruto was so he couldn't follow Sakura to see how Tsunade was. Danzu walked up behind Naruto hiding the orb behind his back. Well Naruto, you certainly changed my opinion about you, Danzu said. Who would have thought the demon child would become the hero of the village, he said with a blank face. He placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. He quickly thrust the orb into Naruto's back without anyone seeing him. As the orb was smashed into Naruto's back, black smoke surrounded the area as lighting came out of the sky. When the smoke disappeared, everyone gasped in shock, for Naruto was gone and nowhere to be found. No one could find Danzu either. Hiding behind a tree as he waited for the chance to leave was Danzu with a smirk on his face, for his plans going just the way he wanted them to. That takes care of one problem and the other seems to be sleeping. Time to put the rest of the plan into action. Then he disappeared in a poof of smoke. It seems someone has broken through the barrier, haha, said someone in priest robes with creepy eyes. I believe someone has. Want me to go get him for you, headmaster? Said another with a bus driver outfit on with a cigar in his mouth that had the same creepy eyes. Yes, I believe that would be a smart idea, bring him to me, bus driver, so we can have a very long chat, said the headmaster. The bus driver left the room toward the person who had broken through the barrier. With a creepy glint in his eyes and an evil smirk to match. Hey kid, you better wake up or both of us are going to die. What are you talking about, you damn fox? I'm only surrounded by the villagers and they're calling me a hero. There's no way they're going to hurt me. Ahaha, you wish you were still with the villagers. The Kyuubi said, still laughing. Naruto was falling from the sky when he awoke. When he realized he was falling, he screamed, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, this is going to fucking hurt. He had already been falling for about 5 minutes when trees started to come into view. Well, at least there's a few trees to help soften my fall. All of a sudden Naruto felt tired and fell back asleep. There was a 5-foot crater where he had landed and most of the trees were knocked over from the explosion he had created from hitting the ground. A mysterious figure walked into the crater and picked Naruto up and threw him over his shoulder. Glad to see you're alive from the fall you took, haha. The mysterious figure walked away from the crash site with Naruto on his shoulder. Elsewhere in the academy. Know your place, and another monster was sent flying. Thank you Mokus-san, you saved us again, said Sukun. Then he handed her Rosario. She took the Rosario from him and put it back on, saying until next time, Tsukun. Her silver hair turned pink and red eyes turned green. She passed out and fell into Tsukun's arms. He carried her in his arms as him and the gang walked back to the dorms. Ruby, tie the boy up and make sure he can't escape, the headmaster said. Yes, headmaster. She tied the blonde-haired boy to a chair and made sure he couldn't escape. After she was done, the headmaster splashed freezing cold water all over Naruto. Naruto woke up screaming, that's fucking cold. Oh, glad to see you're up and alive. Came a voice from the corner of the room. Naruto looked around to see 3 people standing around. One was a girl with brown hair tied into 2 ponytails with brown eyes to match. She had on a black skirt that went down to her knees with a slit up the right side that showed off a nice amount of leg. Her top was a white that showed off a lot of cleavage. Naruto almost couldn't stop staring till he heard a hem. Which made Naruto turn his head toward the man that had priest clothes on with a Rosario around his neck. What's your name, boy? The man asked. Naruto Uzumaki. And why the hell am I tied up in this chair? He tried to get loose from the ropes, but it was tied too tight, which made it impossible to get out of. Oh, we wouldn't want you running amok on school grounds, now would we? The man said. Then at least tell me how I got here and why I am here, said Naruto. That's what we would like to know, boy, said the man. My name's not boy, it's Naruto, and I don't know one thing. I was getting cheered on by all the villagers, and the next I'm in this creepy room with you. Why don't you tell me your name while you're at it? Oh yes, I believe I forgot to tell you, my name is Headmaster to you, the man to my left of buzzed River. Naruto looked over to see a man that had a weird looking suit on with a cigar in his mouth, but what creeped Naruto out the most were that his eyes were just as creepy as the headmaster's. Naruto shivered and snapped his head back to the headmaster. The lady to your left is my personal assistant, Ruby. Naruto turned his head back over to where Ruby was and gave her one of his foxy grins and said, nice to meet you. Ruby blushed a little and said, nice to meet you too. Ahem, now that introductions are done, let's get back on topic, said the headmaster. Naruto rolled his eyes and turned to face the headmaster again. It seems that you have no idea how you got here and most likely have no way of going back, said the headmaster. In that case, I would like to give you a job since it seems you shall be staying here for a while. Yeah right old man, there is no fucking way I am going to stay in this creepy school. I'm going home no matter what, even if I have to find a way to fly just to get back. Naruto was pissed. He did not want to stay one more second in this place. He wanted to go home and help rebuild Konoha. I believe that is not an option since the portal that you fell through has closed and will not reopen without a certain key to open it, said the headmaster. Naruto jumped at this, not literally since he was tied to a chair and couldn't move. Tell me how to get this and I'll be out of your way and gone. You won't even remember I was here. Not so fast boy, it takes 1 to 2 years to make the key, so you will not be going anywhere for a while anyway. Now about that job you will be glad to take in now won't you boy, since I will be personally making the key, said the headmaster smirking. Naruto's mood immediately dropped since he wouldn't be able to go home for a while. Fine, but on one condition: I get to eat ramen whenever I want. The headmaster eyes became even creepier than before since Naruto agreed to the job. So what's the job old man? Spying, assignation, or bodyguard? Since I'm a ninja and don't know how to do much more than that, Naruto said. A ninja? That makes this job much easier for you. I want you guard someone by the name of Aono-tsukun and watch over this school for me to make sure no small incidents happens. I'll even give you the best room that we have here, the headmaster said. Okay, sounds easy, but only if the room is supplied with enough ramen to last my stay, Naruto said. This will be a walk in the park with free ramen whenever he thought. He screamed yes in the back of his mind. Looks like we have a deal. Ruby, untie the boy now so he can go and show him to his room, said the headmaster. Ruby untied Naruto, saying, I'm sorry Naruto-san for tying you up, but it was the headmaster's orders so I had to. No problem Ruby-chan, as long as you leave all the formal prefixes off of my name. I just hate them. Naruto smiled his foxy grin at her again. This caused Ruby to blush again. Then she said, well Naruto, if you would follow me I shall show you to your room. Naruto followed her out of the room. The bus driver closed the door behind them and asked, do you really think it's a good idea leaving it to that brat to watch over the school? The headmaster smirked and said, oh, he will do a fine job since he is that man's son. The bus driver looked at the headmaster and said, I see, this will be very amusing to watch then. Also you already had a key made, so why didn't you just give it to the brat so he could leave? It will be more fun this way and less work for the two of us to do, said the headmaster. They both broke out into evil laughter for a while. Hey Ruby-chan, don't those two give you the creeps just looking at them? Naruto asked as they walked out of the school toward the boys' dorms. Not really, I got used to it since I've been working with them for a while, but yes, they used to creep me out too. She smiled at Naruto as they entered the boys' dorm and walked up the steps. They walked all the way up to the roof where there was another building on the other side. It covered about half of the roof on the boys' dorm. She pulled out a key and unlocked the door. After you Ruby-chan, Naruto said, doing a hand gesture toward the door. She nodded and went inside. He followed Ruby inside. The first room they walked into was the living room. The walls were white and it had a huge 61 plasma screen TV on the south wall with all the game stations you could think of under it. On the west wall there was a shelf filled with nothing but video games and CDs on it. The north side had a huge black couch with a nice glass table in front of it to lay glasses on. Next to the couch on west side there was a card table that you could play poker and other games on. The east side of the room led to the kitchen that had white walls and everything in it that a kitchen would need, including a western-style table in the middle. Naruto ran up to the cabinets and flung them open. There it was, his favorite food ramen and a different flavor on each shelf. His mouth began to water just looking at all the ramen. He wanted to start slurping down the noodly, lol. Not even a real word. Equals p, goodness, but knew he had to finish seeing the rest of the rooms. So he closed the doors crying and I'm tears, wishing that he could already start eating his ramen. Ruby giggled when she saw Naruto was crying from not getting to eat his ramen. You really like ramen, don't you Naruto? Of course, it's the only food I want to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he replied. This caused Ruby to start laughing. Okay, let's get back to checking out the rooms. Naruto just nodded. To the left of the kitchen was a hall which had one door on each side. In the left door of the wall was a master bedroom. Its walls were a tannish color. It had a king-size bed in the far right corner. In front of the bed was another 61 plasma screen TV in the wall with all the game stations under it too. On the left side there was a desk with a computer on top of it and a lamp so he could work during the night. On the other side of the hall was another room just a little smaller and only had a twin-size bed in it. That must be the guest room, Naruto thought. Then the last room, which was the restroom. The walls and floor were filled with black tile. On the left side of it had a huge jacuzzi tub with a really nice shower next to it. On the other side of the shower was the toilet. The sink was on the right of the room with a big mirror in front of it, but what got Naruto was that there was yet another door past the sink. He opened the door to a huge Olympic-sized pool with a diving board on the other side. The roof and walls were made out of glass so the sun could shine through. Naruto almost fainted from seeing this. There was just no way the room was big enough for this size of pool. "Ruby, how is there a pee pool in my room?" he asked, stuttering badly. "Oh, that's easy, it's in a separate dimension from the rest of the house," she replied. "That explains everything." He fainted. "Naruto," Ruby yelled. His face landed right in her boobs, causing her to blush. She dragged him back to the couch and tried to wake him. "Naruto, oi Naruto, wake up." She started shaking him since he wouldn't wake up. Feeling the shakes, Naruto woke up to see Ruby right next to him. Startled, he jumps to the corner of the room and pulls out a kunai. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to scare you like that, I just tried to wake you up," she said with a worried expression. He puts the kunai away and say, "It's okay, Ruby-chan," giving her one of his foxy smiles. "Well, I need to head back to the headmaster's office now," said Ruby. She walked to the door. "Oh, and before I forget, here is the key to the room and your class schedule. You will start tomorrow." Naruto took the key and the piece of paper from Ruby's hand and waved her goodbye as she left. "Gosh, now that she's gone I can finally eat my ramen, but before that, what the fuck is that square black thing or all that shit under it, and what was that at the end of the pool of water?" Naruto did his hand signs and said Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 6 of his clones poofed into his living room. "Okay, you two find out what that black thing over there is and the things under it," Naruto said to his clones. "Alright, the next 2 go to my room and find out what that box thing is on the desk," he said to the next set. "The last 2 go to that pool of water and find out what that thing at the end of it does," he ordered to the last group. "Roger," all the clones said in unison. Then one of the clones asked, "What are you going to be doing while we work?" Naruto sent a glare at the clone that said that. "Isn't it obvious I'm going to eat ramen while you guys find out how those things work?" But that all the clones got to work on figuring how everything worked. Naruto walked over the kitchen and reopened the cabinets to see all different kinds of ramen. Then his stomach started growl, but he couldn't decide which one to eat, so he thought, who cares, let's just get one of each. So he pulled out one of each type of ramen and set them on the table. Now to find a way to heat the water up, he thought as he started looking in the cabinets. In the last cabinet door were the pots and pans. Naruto grabbed a kettle that was on the top shelf. He filled the kettle with water and put it on the stove to boil. When he heard the whistle, he took the kettle and filled his cups of ramen. After the 3 minutes of waiting, Naruto grabbed the first cup and slurped it down as fast as he could, and before he knew it, he had already finished off all the other cups. "That was the best instant ramen I've ever had, but still doesn't come close to Ichiraku's ramen." He went to get some more ramen when 2 of the clones dispelled. It was the 2 that were trying to figure out what the diving board was at the end of the pool. "So cool, I can jump off the board and do flips into the pool. I'm going to have fun with that," he thought to himself. Another set of clones dispelled. This time it was the ones trying to figure out what a computer was. "Awesome, I can find out info that I need to live here and other things that's going to come in real handy." It had been 10 minutes after that, and Naruto decided to find out why the other set of clones hadn't dispelled yet. He walks in to see them holding something in their hands and their faces glued to the TV. On the screen there was 2 people fighting each other. One looked like a kunoichi dressed in purple, and the other was a ninja dressed in all black. "Hey, haven't you two already found out what that thing does already?" Naruto asked. One of the clones pauses the game and looks up to Naruto with a sheepish grin. This ticked Naruto off, so he hit the 2 clones on the head, forcing them to dispel. "Hell yeah, now this kicks ass, I've never even seen anything like it," he yelled. He picked up one of the controllers and set the game to 1 player and started playing it. Naruto was still playing video games even though it was morning. He had huge bags under his eyes and was even drooling at the mouth. Then the alarm clock to get ready for school went off. "What the fuck is that noise?" he screamed. Then turned to the clock with a glare that could kill and threw a kunai at it, breaking the clock and turning it off. He turned his head back to the TV and started playing his game again. Then he remembered his job and ran for the bathroom to get ready. He turned the shower on and jumped in, sliding across it and hitting the wall face first. "Oh www, damn it, this is not my day." After he finished in the bathroom, he ran to put his new uniform on. It was different from all the others' uniforms. His uniform had an orange blazer with a black tie and black dress pants to go with it. On the back of the blazer there was a black swirl. "Thank you, headmaster," was the only words he could think of. Naruto tied his hitty-eyed onto his forehead, cause there was no way he was going anywhere without wearing that. He made some toast, then walked out the door heading toward the school. "Sukun," Mocha said. "Mocha-chan," Sukun said. "Sukun," Mocha said. "Jump." I, Mocha, do you have to suck my blood in the morning?" Sukun screams. "Sorry Tsukun, it's just your blood's so good and I haven't had breakfast yet," Mocha says shyly as she twiddled her thumbs. "Yahoo Tsunkun," yelled Kurumu as she ran up to Tsukun and pulled his face into her boobs. "Good morning, Kurumu-chan," Tsukun said, trying to breath. "Geez, Kurumu, let go of Tsukun." Mocha said as she tried to pry Kurumu off of Tsukun. When all of a sudden a pan poofed into existence and hit Kurumu in head. "What did you do that for, you flat-chested witch?" Kurumu said, rubbing the bump on her head and glaring at Yukari. "That's what you deserve, you oversized cow." "Dezu the little witch," Yukari said, glaring back at Kurumu. Kurumu grabbed Tsukun's arm and held it between her breasts. Then right before she could say anything, an ice shuriken hit her right between the eyes. Followed by another pan to the head. This caused her to fall on her butt. Mizer popped out of a bush and walked up behind Tsukun, grabbing his waist, pulling him to her. "Good morning, Mizer-chan," Tsukun said shyly. "Good morning, Tsukun," Mizer said into his ear, causing him shiver from her breath hitting his ear. This pissed off all the other girls. They got into their usual morning fight with ice shurikens and pans flying everywhere. Now girls, let's just walk to school," Tsukun said, sheepishly rubbing the back of his neck, trying to break up the fight. When all of a sudden a large gust of wind came through, causing all the girls' skirts to flip. All the girls scream at the same time, trying to pull their skirts down. Of course, this caused all the boys to get a nosebleed from the scene and a certain wolf to run through, taking as many pictures as he could. Then a certain blonde-haired blue-eyed boy walked through the scene with a weird grin on his face. This caused everyone to stare at him. The girls blushed at how hot he was and the boys sent death glares for it. He simply walked by, not looking at them. The group had stopped fighting and also looked at the boy as he walked by. "Hey, who is that?" Kurumu asked. "I've never seen him." "Dezu," Yukari replies. "Have you seen him, Tsukun?" He just shrugs and looks at Mocha and Mizer. Mizer shakes her head no. Mocha had her pointer finger to her chin with a quizzical look on her face, as if she was trying to remember something. "I wonder why that face looks so familiar," she thought. Then her train of thought was interrupted by Anwani-chan. She looks to her sister and asks, "What is it, Kokoa?" Kokoa looks at her sister and shrugs her shoulders and walks away. Mokoa frowns and looks at Tsukun. He just looks back and shakes his head. The bell rang and the group started to run toward the school. When Naruto got to the school, he couldn't hold in any longer and his nose started to bleed. "Thank you, Wind Jutsu, for that great view, and thank you, school uniforms, for having such short skimpy skirts," he thought to himself with a perverted grin on his face. This caused the people around him to stare. In class, the group sat in the back of the room in corner next to the window. Tsukun was in the very back closest to the window, with Kurumu sitting next to him and Mizer beside her. Mocha sat in front of Tsukun with Yukari sitting beside. They were chatting about what to write for the newspaper when the tardy bell rang. All of the students got into their seats and became quiet as the teacher, Miss Nekonim, walked in. Miss Nekonim walked to her stand in front of the class. She took out her attendance book and took roll call. After that was done, she told the class, "Now class, if you would open your textbooks to chapter 5. The students whined, but opened their textbooks anyway since they had no choice in the matter. Then someone knocked on the door, knock knock. "Ah yes, I forgot, silly me," Miss Nekonim said as she tapped her forehead. Her tail came out wagging in embarrassment. "Today class, we have a new student joining us," she announced. The class started whispering to themselves. One whispered, "I wonder who it is." Another said, "I don't care as long as it's a really hot girl." A girl whispered, "Do you think it's the boy from this morning?" Another girl said, "I hope so, he was hot." Then the two started to giggle. "Okay class, quiet down, Miss Nekonim said. After the class got quiet, she said, "Okay, you can come in now." The door slid open to reveal a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy that had 3 whisker marks on each cheek. He had a huge grin on his face. He looked at teacher and saw that she had a tail that was moving. This gave him a quizzical look face as he stared at her tail. Then he shrugged it off and looked toward the class with his huge smile back on. "If you would be so kind as to introduce yourself," Miss Nekonim asked. "The name's Uzumaki Naruto, nice to meet everybody," giving them his foxy smile as he said it. Almost all of the girls blushed. When all of a sudden Mocha shouted out of her chair and ran toward Naruto. She hugged him, causing them to fall to the floor. This caused the whole class to gasp. The girls glared at Mocha. As guys glared at Naruto. Making a heavy atmosphere in the air. Tsukun looked away a little hurt and jealous at how Mocha had just ran up to the guy and hugged him. Kurumu and Mizer were happy, thinking, yes, Mocha has given up on Tsukun. Now's my chance. They both started give an evil giggle. Then they glared at each other with lighting coming out of their eyes at each other. No, not literally, although that would be kinda funny. Mocha started to cry and squeezed Naruto even tighter. "It's really you, Sniffle, I thought you were dead," Mocha said as she tried to hold back her tears. She held him tighter and placed her head on his shoulder, oblivious to the students surrounding them. This caused Naruto blush to turn deep red from her boobs being pressed against his chest and little from embarrassment as everyone was staring at them. Excuse, but who are you and how do you know me?" he asked, chuckling. This caused Mocha's eyes to widen and remember that she didn't look like her inner self. She jumped up and tapped her head with her hand and stuck out her tongue, slightly tilting her head to the side. This caused all boys to blush at her and completely forget about Naruto and ways to kill him. It's me Akashi Yamoka," she said, blushing and twiddling her thumbs, still with her head tilt slightly. "I know I've heard that name before. Think. Naruto thought to himself with a very stern thinking face on. He put his fingers to his chin, still thinking as hard as he could. Then a light bulb popped into his head and a flashback of his time with Mocha-chan came flooding back to him. I remember Mocha-chan," he said, pointing at her with quizzical look on his face. Wondering why her hair was pink and eyes green, cause last time he remembered her hair was silver and eyes bloody red. As he looked at her, the more he thought she was hot, no matter what color her hair was or eyes. He couldn't stop staring or thinking about her. When all of a sudden his brain overloaded with bizarre fantasies of her and he passed out from too much blood loss. "Naruto!" Mocha screamed. This shocked the whole class, causing them to stand up from their seats to get a better view of what had just happened. The whole class burst into laughter at how he had passed out. "Okay, see Class G, get back to your seats now. Miss," Nekonom said, trying to hold off her own laughter from the event. Then she took a deep breath and sighed. "Mocha, since you seem to already know Naruto, would you be so kind as to take him to the infirmary?" Mocha looked at the teacher with a huge smile on her face. "Hi. Could I have Tsukun help me though?" "Sure. Tsukun, could you help Mocha take Naruto to the infirmary, miss?" Nekonom asked. Tsukun got from his seat, still with a sour expression his face. He walked up to where Mocha and Naruto were at the front of the class and grabbed one of Naruto's arms and slung it over his shoulder. Mocha did the same with the other arm, slinging it over her shoulder. They took Naruto out of the classroom and headed toward the infirmary. Mocha noticed that Tsukun had a sad expression and asked with a worried look in her eyes. "What's wrong, Tsukun?" He noticed the worried look in her eyes and said, "Oh, nothing, just forgot to study for a test that's coming up," was the only excuse he could think of. She just nodded and turned to look at Naruto again. This caused Tsukun to feel even more jealous with a pain in his chest since she was more worried about Naruto than him. He shook it off and made a fake smile, hoping she wouldn't notice. They opened the door to the infirmary and walked in, closing the door behind them. The nurse was not in the office, so they laid Naruto into one of the beds. "Hey Tsukun, could you take my Rosario for me?" she asked in a pleading tone. Tsukun looks at her, seeing that she really wanted it taken off. He sighs, "Okay Mocha-chan." He walks up to her and pulls the Rosario off. A huge demonic aura enters the room as the pink-haired vampire's hair turned silver and eyes bloody red. Her chest also became bigger and her ass too. "Nice to see you again, Tsukun," Mocha said, looking at him. "Nice to see you too, Mocha-san," Tsukun said. "Tsukun, could you leave now? I want to talk to Naruto alone," she said, demanding. Knowing he had no choice, Tsukun glances at Naruto and back to Mocha, giving her the worried look. Then walks out the door, leaving the Rosario on the nurse's desk. Mocha punches Naruto right in the face, causing the bed to break. "Oh damn it, that hurt," Naruto screams. Then he looks to see Mocha in front of him. He immediately goes silent, staring at her. Wow, she looks completely different from just earlier. My god, her boobs and her ass are so much bigger. Not only that, she has her silver hair and bloody red eyes again. So damn sexy. He thought to himself, then slapped himself. "What did you do that for?" he yells. Standing up on the broken bed. "Mocha smirks, "It's payback for making me think you were dead all this time." Naruto's eyes soften, looking away from her gaze. "Sorry, it's just I couldn't find a way to go see you, that's all. And why didn't you come back through the portal to find out yourself?" He looks back at her. This time she looks away. "I couldn't, for some reason the portal was blocked." Then she stares back at him. "I also believe you have some explaining to do as to why there was a mob chasing you while calling you a demon child," she said, demanding an answer. Naruto eyes sadden and looks down, wondering if he should tell her or not. He sighed, knowing that she deserved to know what happened, but was worried she would hate him as soon as she knew. He choked. When all of a sudden the door slams open and Coco runs in, yelling "One-sama," then stops when she sees Naruto. She glares at him and asks with venom in her voice. "Who are you and what are you doing with my One-sama?" Mocha sighs and glares at Cocoa. "Uchiha-chan, long time no see. It seems you haven't changed much," Naruto say, grinning and waving to her. Cocoa sends an even worse death glare at Naruto for calling her that. This caused Naruto to shiver a bit. "Don't you dare call me that, I don't even know you," she hissed. "How cruel, Chibi-chan, how can you forget Nai-sama even if it was only 2 days?" Naruto say, pouting. The light bulb flickers in her head, remembering. "And Naruto Nai-sama." She chokes out. "Yep, the one and only," he said, grinning at her. I thought you were dead, I mean you were bleeding and a mob was hovering over you," she said, about to cry. "Yeah right, like anyone could kill me. I'm going to be the next Hokage, there's no way I can die till then," Naruto said, rolling his eyes. Besides, I beat your sister. Do you really? I think I would die from a few kunai all over my body and a hole in my stomach," he said. This caused Mocha to raise an eyebrow at his statement. She was going to pay him back for that after she got her questions answered. "Now that this little reunion is over, why don't you answer my questions and how you survived?" Mocha said with a grin. Naruto froze, wishing that she had forgotten about that. He decided to start with the easy question, then the more difficult ones. He sighed and began his story. Flashback. Naruto lay in a pool of his own blood as the villagers hit him with pitchforks and other tools. Also throwing rocks at him. Even a few of the Anbu that were supposed to protect him threw kunai and shuriken at him. Then right when Naruto thought it was the end, the Hokage stood over him, blocking the villagers from hurting him anymore. The Hokage was furious. "Why are you attacking this child? Especially you Anbu, how dare you disobey the Hokage's orders and attack instead of protect him?" he yelled. "I shall have stripped you of your rank and be banished from Konoha for this," he said, a little calmer now. One of the men in the mob yells. "But the demon child had kidnapped a few of the children, we had a right to attack him." "Yeah," the mobs roars in agreement. "Where are these children that you speak of? I do not see any," the Hokage said. The crowd silences and looks around, remembering that they had not seen any children. Then the boy that started the commotion walks out the crowd with his head looking his feet. "I'm sorry, me and my friends only wanted to play a prank on him since our parents told us to stay away from him, that he was dangerous," the boy say, scared. The Hokage's eyes soften and looks at the boy. "That does not mean that you should have done it. We shall give you and your friends punishment later. For now we need to get Naruto's wounds treated." At this point Naruto fainted, notable to stand the pain any longer. End of flashback. "I see, so that's one question answered," Mocha said, giving him a sympathetic look. "Now you tell me, why were they chasing you and why were they called you a demon child?" she said. The bell rang indicating that school over, but none of them had heard it since they were too caught up in their chat. Naruto looks down at the floor, still not wanting to tell her, but he knew he had to. Then the door opened again, revealing Tsukun and the gang. Mocha and Kokoa glares at the group for barging in. "Thank God luck is on my side," Naruto thought, crying and I'm tears at his luck. Of course Mocha quickly looked back at Naruto, still wanting the answers to her questions. She didn't care if the whole school found out. She was going to get her answer, even if she had to beat it out of him. "Naruto, tell me now or I'm going to beat it out of you," Mocha said as calmly as she could. That gave Naruto idea of how to keep his secret safe. He would have a fighting match with her. "Okay, but only if you can beat me in a fighting match," Naruto said slyly. This caused everyone to gasp except Mocha and Kokoa. "Naruto, do you really want to fight Mocha-san, even though she's a vampire?" Tsukun said, a little scared. "Yeah, so I beat her when we were kids. It wasn't that hard. I'm sure this won't be much different," Naruto said, rolling eyes and scowling at the group. Yet another gasp went around the room from hearing that. This caused Mocha to blush and also making her furious. "Fine, but if I win you tell me the answers right then and right there," she said furiously. Naruto gave her a quick smile and said, "You ready to get your ass kicked again that badly?" This made the whole room go silent and stare the blonde ninja in shock, thinking there was no way he could beat Mocha. Mocha quickly grabbed him by the tie and dragged him out the door, down the steps, and out of the school. She threw him toward a tree, which he quickly did a front flip and stood sideways on the tree, shocking everyone even more. "I see you are as quick-tempered and patient as ever," Naruto said, giving her a foxy grin. He jumped from the tree and did another front flip to land in front of Mocha. "Chibi-chan, would you be so kind as to start this battle?" Naruto asked politely. Kokoa glares at Naruto for still calling her that, but say fine. After Kokoa had started the battle, Naruto ran toward Mocha doing his hand signs and said Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Another Naruto puffed into existence. This caused another gasp from the group except Kokoa, who just stared at him. Mocha tried to kick Naruto in the stomach, but he and the clone jumped over her. Right when she turned, Naruto had a weird swirling orb-shaped thing in his hand. "Rasengan," Naruto yelled as he thrust the swirling orb into Mocha's stomach, sending her flying into the tree. She got up holding her stomach. Almost all of her uniform had been destroyed, just barely hanging on her body. She quickly charged at him again, sending him kick to the face. Of course Naruto was still froze, thinking damn. With a little blood coming out of his nose from seeing Mocha's nice sexy body in almost nothing but her bra and underwear. By the way, her bra and underwear were both black, the silky lacy ones at that. He was sent flying into the school building. This caused Mocha to smirk since he didn't turn into a log and had a bit of blood running down his face. Naruto quickly recovered and said Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. About 50 Naruto clones poofed into existence and surrounded Mocha. They charged her, trying to get a hit in. She destroyed about 35 of them with ease. The next set ran after her using the combo Uzumaki Naruto Renden. Landing back to the ground with a small crater under her, she could barely stand. Mocha got up leaning on one knee. She looked up to see Naruto walking toward her. His eyes were yellow with a tint of red and black slits in the middle. Circling his eyes looked like a bunch black eyeliner. He had another swirling orb in his hand, only this one seemed worse. This orb was much larger than the last one. You ready to give up or am I going to have to hit you with this? Naruto said, slightly panting. Mocha stood up glaring at him and said, know your place. As she went in for the last kick. Naruto sighed and thrust the orb, saying Adamura Sengen, hitting her stomach again, sending her flying off the school and crashing against a locker. She had blood all over her and deep wounds all across her body. On the other, Naruto had a few scratches here and there with only one severe wound to the head where Mocha had kicked him. I told you I would kick your ass. He yelled, grinning at the group. They were completely out of words. They could only stare at Naruto. Even Kokoa was a bit surprised that Naruto Nayasama could still beat Mocha on Asama even after all these years. Naruto walked over to the group and rubbed his neck, chuckling sheepishly at the group. Come on guys, you don't need to be that shocked. He said. Mocha had regained consciousness after a few of her wounds had healed and walked over to the group. She grabbed Naruto by his tie and pulled him to her. She bit his neck and let go, leaving a mark. Yukari gasped at what Mocha just did. Mocha, did you just ... Mocha quickly covered Yukari's mouth with her hand and dragged her away from the group. Yes, I just did, and don't tell anyone or I will kill you. Mocha said, glaring at the young witch. Do I make myself clear? The witch simply nodded yes, too shocked to say anything. They walked back to the group. Naruto was touching the spot where Mocha had bit him. Mocha walked up to him with a smirk. She pulled him close to her again and bit his neck, sucking his blood this time. She drank his blood for about 3 minutes before letting go. Naruto looked at her with a blank stare. That's payback for beating me. She said with a grin. Sukun brought the Rosario from the nurse's offices and gave it to Mocha. She took it and snapped it back on, staring at Naruto with a smirk still on her face. The silver-haired vampire's hair turned pink again and her eyes green. The demonic aura vanished from the air. Her boobs and ass became smaller again, to which made Naruto a little sad. Not that this Mocha wasn't cute or anything, he just liked the sexier one better. The pink-haired Mocha fell into Naruto's arms, causing another twinge of pain in Sukun's heart. They walked to the dorms with Mocha in Naruto's arms, bridal style. He had carried her to the door when she woke up. He let her down and she was blushing deep and ran into the dorm without a word. He looked at the rest of the group and they just shrugged. The rest of the girls went inside, leaving Sukun and Naruto alone. The two walked back to the dorm without saying a word to each other. Sukun opened his door, walked in and slammed the door shut behind Naruto without saying a word. This pissed Naruto off a bit, but he didn't care because he was exhausted from the day's events. He entered his room and went straight to his bed, falling asleep right when he hit the pillow. Hey kid, we need to talk now. The QB said. Naruto entered his subconscious. What do you want now, you damn fox? I'm sleeping. It's about that damn vampire, she marked you as her mate. The QB said, chuckling. What do you mean, mate? Naruto asked. Damn the kid, don't act dumb, I mean she claimed you for as her fucking mate, damn it. QB said, growling at Naruto. Naruto looked at the fox with a quizzical look. Then it hit him on what the fox meant. Yeah, Naruto yelled. Damn the kid, stop screaming, you're giving me a headache. QB yelled back. The alarm clock went off in Naruto's room, causing him to leave his subconscious and the QB. He ran up to the alarm clock and smashed it with his fist. How the hell do these things keep popping up out of nowhere? Naruto wondered. He looked around the room and saw a clock just magically appear next to his computer. The time on it said 6 o'clock. Since he had some time on his hands, he decided to go for a swim and try out the diving board for himself. Now in his swim trunks, standing on the diving board getting ready to jump in, he thought. Which type of flip should I do first? He shrugged and ran to the end of the board, jumping at the tip, which sent him flying toward the water. In the air he did 3 front flips, diving into the water. Wow. This is fucking awesome, even more fun than when the clones did this. He yelled. He swam to the side of the pool and ran back to the diving, ready to jump off again. This time he did a backflip into the pool. A half an hour passed when Naruto left the pool and walked into the bathroom. He turned on the shower. After that he took his trunks off and got into the shower without sliding this time. He got out of the shower, grabbing a towel to dry himself off, and put his uniform back on. After he was finished in the bathroom, he looked at a clock and noticed that he still had some time. So he went to the kitchen, grabbed 2 cups of ramen. Then he put them on the table and grabbed the kettle next and filled it with water. Naruto finished eating his ramen and looked at the clock again. It was time for school, so he went to the door and opened it. Outside, Mocha was standing with her eyes closed with a blush on her face and began to knock, hitting Naruto in the forehead. She immediately opened her eyes, realizing that she wasn't hitting the door, which caused her to blush even more from embarrassment. Good morning, Mocha-chan. Naruto said, giving her his foxy grin, remembering what the fox had told him last night. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Can I talk to you about something? She asked, shyly looking away from his gaze. Sure, do you want to come in or talk on the way to school? He replies. She thought about her options for a few seconds, then decided to walk. Walking sounds fine, she said. Naruto nods and closes the door behind him, locking it. They were walking down the boys' dorm stairs when Mocha started to speak, but stopped. Naruto noticed this and decided to speak. So Mocha-chan, what do you want to talk about? Naruto asked, still with a foxy grin on his face, knowing full well what they were going to talk about. Mocha looks down at her feet. Well, it's about what the other me did to you. I can kinda remember most of it. This caused Mocha to stop walking and turn completely red from the flashbacks of what her other self did to Naruto. Naruto nodded at her and continued walking down the hallway toward the next set of steps, waiting for her to finish. She took a deep breath to calm herself down a bit, then ran back up to where Naruto was. She was silent, looking at her feet again, trying to think of what to say next. It's okay, Mocha-chan. I don't care if you suck my blood or the mark you left on my neck. Naruto chuckled and winked at Mocha, which caused her to blush a little and leave her in daze, thinking about how good his blood tasted. In fact, you can drink my blood right now if you want to, he said while giving her his usual foxy grin. Of course, making Mocha's blush even more noticeable. This caused Naruto to laugh even more as he opened the door to the outside where the rest of the gang were waiting for them. Of course, the girls were fighting over Tsukun and he was trying to stop them with a horrible attempt like every other morning. Mocha saw the gang and quickly shook herself out of her daze and ran toward them. Tsukun saw Mocha out of the corner of his eyes, then turned his head to smile at her, but noticed Naruto was with her. He looked away with another twinge of pain in his heart from seeing the two together. Kurumu notices this and gave Tsukun a sympathetic look, since she knew that feeling all too well, the feeling of when the one you loved was with someone else. But in her mind she was screaming yes. Thank you, Naruto, for this chance to steal Tsukun away from Mocha. Good morning, everyone. Naruto and Mocha say at the same time in perfect unison. They looked at each other and giggled. Good morning, Dezu. Yukari said as she runs up to Mocha and hugs her. Then she turns her head and glares at Naruto, since he was getting in the way of her threesome with Mocha and Tsukun. Naruto notices this and rubs the back of his head, chuckling, wondering why she was glaring at him. The bell to get to class rang, which meant they needed to hurry since they were still only in front of the dorms. Last one there has to run around the school naked tomorrow morning. Naruto yells, hoping one of the girls would lose. They all look at each other when Yukari says sure. This caused everyone to have a sweat drop on their forehead. Naruto disappears in a poof of smoke, grinning at them. Hey, that's not fair. They all yell. Then the group all run for the school, laughing their heads off, trying not to be last. Another gust of wind blew through the school, causing all the girls' skirts to flip again as Naruto appeared. He ran by all the students with a perverted grin on his face. Wondering if the rest of the gang was behind him, he looked back. While he was looking back, Coco was in front of him, ready to knock him over by sticking out her arm. Of course, Naruto ran into her arm, knocking him flat on his back. Oh, what the hell was that for, Chibi-chan? Naruto yells, rubbing his neck and glaring at Cocoa. Cocoa grabs him by the tie and pulls him to her so that their faces were only a few inches apart. I want you to teach me how to defeat one Isama. Naruto rolls his eyes and disappears in a poof of smoke. Sorry, Chibi-chan, but there's no way I'm going to teach you anything if all you're going to do is attack Mocha-chan. She turns around, glaring at Naruto, then runs at him. Ku, she yells. The tiny bat flew into her hands. She squeezed the tiny bat, tuning him into a mace. Cocoa swung the mace at Naruto, but he caught it with his hand, stopping the attack. Oh, Chibi-chan, no need to get violent. Besides, you're making a scene. Naruto said, looking around at the people who had gathered around to watch the fight. Coco looks around and saw all the people that had gathered. She sighs and lets go of Ku, who turned back into a bat and perched himself on her shoulder. Seeing that the fight was over, the crowd slowly walked away. Naruto grins and turns around, walking toward the school door. When he got to the door, he saw Mocha and the rest of the gang giving him an evil grin. Damn it, Chibi-chan, you made me lose the race. He mutters under his breath. Hey guys, looks like I lost the race. How about we forget all about that little bet? Naruto chuckles, rubbing the back of his neck. Oh no, how can we forget about that? Kurumu said, giving an even eviler grin. Thinking about him walking naked around the school and all students pointing and laughing at him. This caused her to burst into laughter. The school bell rang, telling the students to get to class. Naruto walked into the classroom with his head down. He took his seat, still depressed from losing. The rest of the gang took their seats around him. Mocha sat behind Naruto and gave him a worried look. Then the tardy bell rang. Nekonim walked in, smiling at the class, and took the attendance. Okay class, before we start our lesson I would like to tell our new student the rules, since I didn't get to yesterday. This caused the whole class to burst into laughter from what happened yesterday. Naruto slid down in his chair even more from being embarrassed. As I'm sure you know, this is a school for monsters. Miss Nekonom announced, looking at Naruto. "HHH." Naruto screams in his mind, looking around the room beginning to panic. He really was never any good with the supernatural. Rule number 1, you must stay in your human form at all times on school property. Miss Nekonom announced. Excuse me teach, but I need to leave for a sec," Naruto said, standing from his seat trying to stay as calm as possible. The whole class stares at him. "Okay, but come back soon," the teacher replies, wondering why he had to leave her class. But that Naruto poofs out of the classroom, leaving nothing but smoke and a few leaves falling into his chair. This left the class with their mouths open, wondering how he did that. Naruto reappeared in the headmaster's office. The headmaster was looking out the window. Ruby was setting papers on the desk. She walks out of the room and closes the doors, leaving the headmaster and Naruto alone. "Why didn't you tell me this school was for monsters?" Naruto yells, pointing at the headmaster. "Hahaha, it must have slipped my mind," the headmaster replies, chuckling. "Besides, does it really matter if it was or not?" the headmaster asked, turning to look at Naruto. Naruto shivers at the look in the headmaster's eyes. "Well no, it's just it would have been nice to fucking know I would be walking around in a school filled with nothing but monsters, or that I was guarding a monster." "Oh no, the one you're guarding is a human, that's why you're guarding him," the headmaster replies. "Why the hell is a human in a monster school?" Naruto yells. "That is none of your business, boy," the headmaster said, walking to his desk. "Skipping that, shouldn't you have already figured this was a monster school, since you seem to be such good friends with a certain vampire?" the headmaster said, sitting down in his chair. Naruto froze. "How do you know?" "Oh please, I saw that little display you and her put on yesterday," the headmaster replies, giving an evil grin toward Naruto. This caused Naruto to shiver again. "Now if you would be so kind as to leave, I have business to attend to," the headmaster said, gesturing toward the door. "Fine," Naruto said, disappearing in a poof of smoke instead of taking the door. Ruby walks back in the room with another stack of papers. She puts the papers on his desk and asked, "Sir, is there anything else I can do for you?" "No, you may go now, I have something to take care of," he replies, looking back out the window. Naruto was right in front of the door, getting ready to walk in when the bell for lunch rang. The students opened the door to see Naruto standing right in front of them. They all walked past him until Mocha and the rest of the gang came into view. Naruto walked with them to the lunchroom. The chef had 3 bowls of ramen ready for Naruto to pick up. He ran up to the chef and took his ramen, telling the chef next time to have at least 8 bowls ready. The group gave Naruto a quizzical stare. "What, I love ramen, you got a problem with that?" Naruto replies. This caused them to burst into laughter. The rest of the group got their food. After their food, they picked a table that was shaded by a large tree. Sitting down, Naruto grabbed his chopsticks, pulling them apart. He began to slurp down the ramen as fast as he could, finishing the bowls in only a minute. Everyone was staring at him in shock. After everyone was finished eating, Yukari asked, "Hey Naruto, what type of monster are you?" "Dezu." Naruto froze, wondering if it would be okay to tell them he was human. He looked at Mocha since she already knew. She nodded to him, giving him the okay. "I'm human," he replied. This caused everyone to gasp and stare at him wide-eyed with their mouths open except Mocha. Then they burst into laughter, thinking that there was no way a human could beat a vampire. "No, really, what are you?" Kurumu asked. "He really is human, Kurumu-chan," Mocha said to the group, defending Naruto. "Then how were you able to beat Mocha?" Dezu the young witch asked. "That's because I'm a ninja," Naruto replies. The witch stared at Naruto, trying to remember what she knew about ninjas. Ninjas, humans who were good at war for their stealth, assassinations, and illusions," Dezu the young witch said. "Yep," Naruto replies. The bell rang for the students to get back to class. So the group couldn't ask any more questions as to why Naruto was a ninja. Back in class, the teacher had given them a pop quiz. Right when Naruto saw it, he gave up and went to sleep, waiting for school to end. He couldn't even read a single word on the quiz, it was in another language for all he knew. Besides, it didn't really matter, all he had to do was protect the school. School had ended and the group walked out of the building. Coco was waiting, leaning against the gate for them, wanting to ask Naruto to teach her again. She saw him and ran toward him when all of a sudden 2 large cyclops were behind her. One of the cyclopses had a horn on his head with hammer in one hand. He swung the hammer at Cocoa to knock her out of the way, but was stopped by Naruto, who was holding the hammer with one hand. Out of instinct, Sukun pulled Mocha's Rosario off, filling the air with a demonic aura. Naruto noticed this and looked back at her, giving her his foxy grin. Mocha walked up to Naruto and smirked at him. "Nice to see you again." "Same to you," Naruto replies, breaking the hammer. "Know your place," Mocha said as she kicked one of the cyclopses, sending him flying through the air. Naruto finished the other Cyclops off by using Rasengan, accidentally killing the monster. Damn, and I wanted to ask why they attacked. Naruto said, frowning. The group stared at Naruto at how he had just killed someone and didn't even care. This caused Sukun to barf from the sight. Kurumu and Mizur gave Sukun a worried look. How can you just kill someone and not even care? Sukun asked, still feeling queasy. I'm a ninja, I do it for a living. Naruto said, rolling his eyes. Mocha walked up to Naruto, grabbed his tie and pulled him closer. Then bit his neck and started sucking his blood. I think we need to talk, Mocha-chan. Naruto whispers into her ear as she drank his blood. She immediately stops and looks up at him, smirking. Then walks toward Sukun without saying a word. She grabs her Rosario and snaps it on. Next time, Naruto. She said, looking away from him. Several weeks had gone by with nothing happening at the school for monsters. Of course Naruto was bored out of his mind. The only excitement that had happened was the day Naruto had to walk around the school naked. Flashback. Naruto was walking out of the boys' dorm in his uniform, forgetting about the bed he made yesterday. When all of a sudden Kurumu walks up in front of him. I think you're forgetting about something. Kurumu say, pointing at him. What are you talking about? I have everything right here. Naruto say, looking over his uniform. That's the reason. You're wearing your uniform. Kurumu say, giggling. That's right. Dezu. Yukari say are running up next to Kurumu. They both grab one of Naruto's arms and pull him behind a bush. When they walk out of the bushes, Naruto's butt naked with Kurumu holding onto his uniform. He was forced to walk to school like that with the rest of the gang walking behind him about 12 feet away. They were too embarrassed to walk anywhere near him. Even when Naruto walked up to Mocha, she turned away blushing bright red and ran in the other direction. When they got to the school, all of the guys were pointing and laughing him. Well, most of the guys anyway. A few were like the girls with hearts in their eyes, drool coming out of their mouths, and looked like they were going to attack Naruto at any time. Of course that didn't last long when one of the girls started chasing after him, causing all the other girls to follow. He was running for his life for the whole school day. The girls were trying to get into his pants. If only he had some on. The school police force had caught word of this and decided to punish the culprit. So Naruto was chased after by horny schoolgirls and sadistic head police chief Kai. Until Naruto found a hiding place and stayed there till after school when Kurumu gave him back his uniform. End of flashback. Thanks to that, Naruto became a legend at the school as the super hot streaker who couldn't be caught. After he had joined the newspaper club, the first thing they wrote about was him. The only good thing that had gone on these few weeks was that Naruto and Mocha had gotten closer to each other. Even Yukari had grown attached to Naruto enough to add him to her threesome, making it a foursome. Naruto had saved the young witch countless times from being bullied by Kurumu and other students. But Sukun was a different case. He had stopped walking with the group and sometimes skipped school altogether. Kurumu and Mizur decided it was time to put their plans into action before Sukun did something that could hurt him or someone else. They decided to go to his room this morning. Sukun was lying in his bed trying to decide whether he should go to school and watch Mocha and Naruto together or stay home and sulk over it. Before he could decide, there was a knock at the door. Sukun opened the door. Kurumu, Mizur, good morning. What are you doing here? Sukun asked in a lifeless tone, wanting to shut the door and go back to bed. Good morning, Sukun. Can we come in? They both ask. He looks around his room, then shrugs. Sure. They walk into his room, closing the door behind them. Right when the door closes, Kurumu and Mizur grab one of Tsukun's arms, drags him to his bed, pinning him down so he couldn't get away. What are you two doing? Tsukun asked, trying to get loose from their hold. We need to talk, Tsukun. Kurumu said. Mizur nods her head in agreement. About what? Nothing's wrong. Tsukun say, getting mad at the two. We can tell how much you're in pain from seeing Naruto and Mocha being together. Kurumu say, tightening her grip on Tsukun's arm. Tsukun's just lays there. Now you know how we felt when you and Mocha were together. Kurumu said, about to cry. Mizur nods in agreement again and takes her lollipop out of her mouth. It's okay, Tsukun, we're here for you. Tsukun just sits there and stares at the two girls in front of him. Tears start to well up in his eyes. Kurumu and Mizur hugged Tsukun, also crying. After minutes, Kurumu lets go of Tsukun and wipes the tears off her face. Let's go to school now, okay? Tsukun nods and they get ready to go to school. He felt a lot better after crying with Kurumu and Mizur. School was over and the gang was in the newspaper club room, trying to decide what to put in the school paper for next week. This is so damn boring. I haven't had a single fight all week. Naruto said, yawning and leaning his head on the table. You can fight with me anytime, Naruto Nayasama. Kokoa said, hoping she could learn some new moves as they fight. Sorry Chibi-chan, just you're no fun to fight. Your moves are so easy to read. Naruto say, turning his head to look out the window. Then why won't you teach me? Kokoa asked, pissed that he said she was weak. Not until you stop trying to kill your sister. Naruto replies. Now you two let's get back to working on the newspaper. Sukun say chuckling. Why there's nothing to write about anyway. Naruto said. Jin walks into the room with a box in hand. He walks up to the desk and slams it onto the desk. He turns around and walks right back out the door. This made everyone stare at him wondering what his problem was. Then Mizur pops out from under a desk with lollipop in hand. Hey, I got a letter from home and was wondering if you guys would like to come with me for a ceremony. This shocked the group even more. Kurumu and Mocha run up and hug Mizur for actually inviting them. Of course we'll go with you. Desu Yukari say are running up to hug her too. I don't have anything better to do anyway since I'm stuck here for a while. Naruto say putting his hands behind his head. Sukun doesn't say anything. Mizur looks up to Sukun with puppy dog eyes. Oh of course I'll go Mizur-chan. Sukun say chuckling rubbing the back of his neck. So when are we going? Mocha asks letting go of Mizur. Tomorrow. Mizur replies sticking the lollipop in her mouth. Well since we're done for the day how about we go on back to the dorms? Kurumu asks. The group nods in agreement and walks out of the newspaper club. In the graveyard near the dorms Naruto came up with an idea. Since he had been practicing cards in his free time he decided to finally ask. Hey guys wanna come to my room for a while and hang out? They all look at each other and shrug. Sure why not we got some time anyway. But make sure to bring your swimsuits too. Naruto says grinning. Swimsuits what do we need those for? Kurumu asks. You'll see when you get there. Naruto replies. Now that you mention it we've never been to your room have we? Mocha said. Okay meet you guys at my room in 30 minutes. Naruto say and disappears. I wonder what we need our swimsuits for? Sukun asks. Who knows let's just bring them anyway. Kurumu replies. The group separates and goes to their rooms to get their swimsuits and meet back up at Naruto's door. Naruto reappeared near the headmaster's office he wanted to ask Ruby if she wanted to join the game. He knocks on the door. Come in. Someone said behind the door. Naruto opens the door to see the headmaster at his desk doing some paperwork and Ruby putting books on a shelf. If it isn't Naruto what did you have to see me for this time? The headmaster asks. I don't want to talk to you I came here to see Ruby. Naruto said looking at Ruby. Me? Ruby asks putting the last book on the shelf. Yep. I was wondering if you would like to hang out with me and the rest of the newspaper club. Naruto said. Ruby looks at the headmaster to see if it was okay. You can go I don't have anything else for you to do today anyway. The headmaster say. Thank you. Ruby say happy that she gets to spend some time with Sukun and the rest of the gang. Okay meet at my door in 30 minutes. Oh yeah don't forget your swimsuit Naruto said disappearing. Naruto reappears in his room where Yukari and Koko were already waiting at the door. He opens the door and lets the two in. You two can go on in and look around I'll wait here for the others. Naruto said. The two run into the house. He could hear them say wow. Desu and why is Naruto Nayasama's room so much nicer than ours? Naruto chuckled at this. Mocha, Kurumu and Mizur were the next to enter the house, followed by Tsukun and Ruby. He showed them the main part of the house. Wow Naruto this is really nice. How come your room is so much nicer than ours? Mocha asks. Let's just say I made a little deal with the headmaster. Naruto say winking at her. Now let me show you why I told you to bring your swimsuits. He said walking through the bathroom. He opened the door to show the pool. Yukari and Koko had already switched into their swimsuits. Yukari jumped off the diving board doing a cannonball and Koko sat in a chair near the side of the pool. Kurumu and Mizur quickly switched into their suits and jumped into the pool too. Mocha also put her suit on and sat near Koko. Ruby was swimming with Yukari. Naruto and Tsukun put their trunks on last after the girls and walked into the pool room. Naruto ran to the diving board and did a double backflip off. Tsukun walked over to where Mocha and Koko was since he knew they couldn't swim because they were vampires. Hey Mocha-chan. Tsukun say sitting next to Mocha. Koko growls and glares at Tsukun then walks away. Hey Tsukun aren't you going to swim? Mocha asks. No I find just sitting here and talking to you. Tsukun replies smiling at her. Naruto runs up to them. Hey Mocha-chan, why aren't you swimming? Mocha looks away a little sad and begins to talk. Well you see. If it's about you being a vampire and what water does to you don't worry this water perfectly safe. Naruto says stopping her. Hey. Mocha looks at him with a quizzical look. I asked a headmaster to fix the pool to where vampires could swim in it. Naruto say grabbing her arm. He picks her up and throws her into the pool. What did you do that for? Tsukun asks glaring at Naruto and ready to jump in the pool to save Mocha. Oh shut up and watch. Naruto replies. Mocha stands up in the pool shocked that it didn't hurt. See I told you. He yelled jumping in the pool next to Mocha. Thank you Naruto. Mocha say smiling at him. The gang swam for a few hours. After that they all went back to the kitchen to get something to eat. Of course all Naruto had was instant ramen and some weird looking drinks in the fridge. So everyone ate some ramen and drank whatever the strange liquid was. Yum, this stuff tastes better than it looks. Desu Yukari say. Now to put the main plan into action. Naruto whispers to himself so no one can hear. Since we still have a few hours, how about we play a game of cards? Naruto asks. Sure. What kind? Sukun asks. How about we make this fun by playing strip poker? Naruto say grinning. Okay, sounds good to me. How about you, Mocha-chan? Sukun asked. For some reason he was feeling a little lightheaded and tipsy. The girls look at each other but figured what's the harm, it's only Tsukun and Naruto. If they won it wouldn't even matter. Naruto quickly got the table ready. He shuffled the cards as everyone sat around the table. Okay, you guys should already know most of the rules, right? Naruto asked. They all nod yes. But that will make this easier. Okay, since you know the rules, we'll have it to where everyone that loses each round has to take a piece of clothing off. So the game goes faster. He said, dealing the cards out. They all take their hands and begin the game. The first round Yukari wins. After 7 rounds and a lot of drinks, all of girls were down to their bra and underwear except Yukari, who was really lucky at cards and had almost all of her uniform still on. Even Naruto had had a few drinks by now and was down to his boxers. He saw that Mocha had on a set of frilly pink underwear on. Kurumu had on a yellow set with white polka dots all over. Lizzer had a striped blue and purple set on. And Ruby, oh Ruby, she had on the most bizarre one, yet it was a one-piece leather set for S+M. Both Naruto and Tsukun had a nosebleed over that one. Sometime later on, Tsukun must have accidentally knocked off Mocha's Rosario. For the silver-haired Mocha was sitting on the other end table playing cards with them. They were a little shocked at first when they finally notices but didn't care because they were having too much fun. Another few rounds and everyone except Naruto and Mocha had passed out. Naruto was about to pass out himself but wanted to take the chance to talk to Mocha. Mocha-chan, you ready to talk about this mark you left on my neck yet? He asked. She looks up from her cards and looks at him smirking. What's there to talk about? Besides, I think you need to answer a few of my questions first. I think this mark on my neck is more important, Naruto said, trying to change the subject. Mocha got up from the table and walked over to him, sitting back down on his lap, straddling his waist. She wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered into his ear. I think you already know what that mark on your neck means. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Why don't you tell me just to make sure? Naruto whispered into her ear and gave her his foxy grin. She smirked back at him, and right before they kissed she brought her head down and bit his neck, sucking his blood. After she finished she looked back into his eyes and was about to kiss him for real this time, but before she could he passed out from too much alcohol. This made her laugh. She got up and took the Rosario from Tsukun. Then walked over and picked Naruto up, taking him to his room. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.